Everyone should care about the George Eastman House because it's not just a place where photography buffs get to see photographs. We have incredible photographs. It is about the relationship between photography or the image and the society in which we live.
George Eastman House has a uniquely comprehensive mission in photography and film. Obviously, our collections are renowned. Our collection in technology is the foremost in the world. We have been pioneers in conservation and preservation, and for over 60 years we've shared our treasures and our knowledge with the world.
George Eastman House was founded as a monument to George Eastman, but we are much more than that. In a way, the subtitle of George Eastman House should be the World Center for the Image.
There's no place in the world that you can learn the different processes that we teach at George Eastman House and elsewhere. All of these workshops tell the world that we are something very, very special.
Photographs are the most interdisciplinary objects of study that I can think of. Regardless of your interests, some of our photographs are important to you.
And it's not just about collecting, it's about conserving, it's about understanding those collections.
Every time that a studio wants to go back and do another version of the film, whether it's Gone with the Wind or The Wizard of Oz, they need to come back to the film originals, which are housed here at George Eastman House, being taken care of for that next evolution.
We are one of the 5 major film archives in the United States. Everything you want to know about history of film technology can be found here.
Being a photography museum also makes us an art museum, an architecture and landscape museum, a science and technology museum.
To be close to that collection is to be close to the heart of images.
The photography collection is not only one of the most important in the world, and certainly one of the largest, but it's by far the most varied. We're not an art museum, we're a museum of the photograph. So our collection contains elements of popular culture, advertising, political pictures, family photographs, as well as great works of art.
The collection here, in some ways, is very difficult to describe. It's huge. This is industrial collecting. We have the first commercially manufactured camera, sold in 1839. We have Joe Rosenthal's speed graphic used for making the image on Mount Suribachi. We have a Brownie collection, one of which is Ansel Adams' first boyhood camera.
We have the films of Martin Scorsese, Spike Lee, Norman Jewison, Catherine Bigelow, and many, many others. They know that when their films are here, these films are taken care of. They are treated as works of art. We train a new generation of specialists in the art of preserving moving images. We fulfill our mission by ensuring continuity in the transmission of knowledge.
Our graduates are employed in Scotland, Chile at the National Archives, at the Met, at the Modern, all over the world.
There's currently a movement of fine art photography that uses historic photographic processes. The George Eastman House really spawned this entire artistic movement. Fine art photographers like Sally Mann, Chuck Close, these people learned from us. They learned from us. This was the only place they could come.
George Eastman was an innovator. He took something that was difficult to do and made it simple. In some ways very similar to what Bill Gates did with the computer. Before George Eastman, you'd have a photograph made maybe once or twice in your lifetime. It was a very expensive thing to do. George Eastman made this simple so anybody could do it.
In a way, George Eastman was a Renaissance man, someone who understood the intimate connection between art and science.
He was also generous in that he gave money to institutions around the world.
The fact that this is the George Eastman House is incredibly important because it's about the individual. It's not about the company he founded or where he got his wealth from. It's really a statement about what he did as an individual to change the world, change society.
The museum was not founded on George Eastman's assets. You know, we're not an Eastman Kodak Company division. We have to go raise money. For us to be able to continue to do what we need to do with these collections, and what should be done with these collections, we need to reach out and find other sources of support and revenue.
The thing I think people need to know about George Eastman House is just how incredible its breadth and depth is, and how important I think we've come to recognize the image not just as an art form, but as something that tells us about society.
Eastman House can and must continue as the nexus of the photographic universe, not only in the people we train and send out into the big world, but in the collections we have and will continue to grow.
The mission of George Eastman House is not just to preserve photographs, it's to preserve the legacy of photography. It's the legacy of photography that allows us to look into the past, to learn from the past, to document the present. It's one of the most important aspects of our culture, is to know visually what happened to us.